Captain Han Bin stared at the massive ship floating in the darkness of space. It was ancient, older than anything he had ever seen. The metal was black and strange, covered in symbols that seemed to glow faintly. His ship, Terra's Edge, was tiny next to this giant. "How long has it been here?" he asked Dr. Park Hana, who was studying her scanner readings. "At least 50,000 years," she replied, her voice full of wonder. "Maybe longer." "This is incredible, Captain. This ship is older than any civilization we know." The void sector was a place most aliens avoided. They called it cursed and stayed away. But humans were curious. They went where others feared to go. That was how they had found this amazing discovery. Commander Li Day walked up to them. His face was serious. "Sir, I don't like this place. The alien crews are getting nervous. They keep talking about old stories and warnings." Han Bin nodded. His crew was mixed, like most human ships. There were humans, but also friendly aliens who had joined the Terran Federation. The aliens seemed scared of this place, but they trusted the humans enough to stay. "Take us closer," Han Bin ordered. "Dr. Park, I want you to scan everything. This could be the discovery of a lifetime." The ancient ship was huge. It stretched for kilometers in every direction. As they got closer, they could see it was damaged. Parts of it were missing, blown away by some long-ago battle, but most of it was still there, waiting. "I'm reading power signatures," Dr. Park said excitedly. "Very faint, but they're there. Some systems are still working after all this time. Can we get inside?" Han Bin asked. "There's a docking bay that looks intact. It's big enough for our ship." Han Bin made his decision. "Take us in." The docking bay was enormous. Terra's Edge looked like a toy inside it. As soon as they landed, the ancient ship's system seemed to wake up. Lights came on. Air started flowing. It was as if the ship had been waiting for visitors. Dr. Park led a team inside. The corridors were huge, made for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen outside. Everything was preserved perfectly, as if time had stopped. "Captain," Dr. Park's voice came through the radio. "You need to see this." Han Bin hurried to join her team. They had found what looked like a control room. It was filled with strange machines and screens. But what caught his attention were the walls. They were covered in writing. Lots of different kinds of writing. "I count 47 different languages," Dr. Park said. "Some of them I recognize. Ancient Velthak, Old Saurian, even some early quantum collective symbols. But there are others I've never seen before." "What do they say?" Han Bin asked. Dr. Park had been working with her translation computer. Her face was pale when she looked up. "They all say the same thing, Captain. In every language. It's a warning," she read from her screen. "The Terran species must never be provoked to full war. They are the galaxy's failsafe. Do not wake the sleeping giant. Do not test their limits." The last civilization that tried was consumed entirely. Han Bin felt a chill run down his spine. "Terran species? That's us. That's humans." "There's more," Dr. Park continued. "It talks about Earth, about humans. It says we were visited long ago by the ones who built this ship. They called themselves the progenitors. They were the first to travel between stars." Commander Li Day was reading another section. "Sir, this part talks about human potential. It says humans have something inside them that other species don't. Something dangerous if awakened." "That's impossible," Han Bin said. "We've only been in space for 200 years. How could ancient aliens know about us?" Dr. Park was studying more screens. "Captain, look at this. These are star maps. They show the galaxy from 50,000 years ago. And look, there's Earth. There's our solar system. They knew exactly where to find us." The team spent hours copying everything they could. The ancient ship was full of information, but most of it was about humans. Warnings about humans. Instructions never to threaten humans. Stories about what happened to those who did. Han Bin contacted his ship. "Get me a direct line to Counselor Kim Yu on the Council homeworld. Emergency priority." The connection took several minutes to establish. When Kim Yu's face appeared on the screen, he looked tired. The Galactic Council had been in session for days arguing about the human problem. "Captain Han," Kim Yu said, "I hope you have good news. Things are getting difficult here." "Sir, we've found something incredible. Evidence that humans were known to ancient aliens. Warnings about us that go back 50,000 years?" Kim Yu's eyes widened. "Warnings? What kind of warnings?" Han Bin quickly explained their discovery. As he talked, Kim Yu's face grew more and more worried. Captain, this couldn't come at a worse time. The three major powers are meeting right now. They're talking about putting us in our place. Economic sanctions. Military action. They say humans are getting too bold, expanding too fast. Show them this evidence, Han Bin urged. Show them the warnings. I'll try, but they're not in a mood to listen to anything that makes humans seem special or dangerous. They think we're primitives who need to be controlled. The connection was interrupted by alarms on Kim Yu's end. Captain, I have to go. The council is reconvening. Send me everything you found. The screen went dark. Han Bin turned to his team. Pack up everything. We're leaving now, sir, Commander Li Day asked. Shouldn't we study this more? No time. If the council is meeting about us, we need to get this information to Earth immediately. As Terra's Edge prepared to leave, Dr. Park made one final discovery. Deep in the ship's computer core, she found a message. It was in perfect modern human language. To the descendants of Earth, it read, You will face this trial as we did long ago. Remember who you are. Remember what you are capable of. The galaxy will test you, but you are made to pass this test. When they come for you, show them why the ancient warnings exist. The message was signed simply, Your future selves. Dr. Park stared at the screen in shock. Captain, this message, it's dated to be written 50,000 years from now. Han Bin felt his world shift. Time travel? Or something even stranger? Dr. Park whispered. They jumped to hyperspace just as their long-range sensors picked up something alarming. Massive fleets were moving toward human space. Weltall warships, Saurian battlecruisers, quantum collective energy vessels. All three major powers working together for the first time in galactic history, all of them heading for Earth. As Terra's Edge raced through hyperspace, Han Bin thought about the warnings they had found. About sleeping giants and awakened potential. About civilizations that had tried to test humanity and been consumed. Soon, the galaxy would discover if those ancient warnings were true. The ship's computer announced their arrival time to Earth. 47 hours. The enemy fleets would arrive in 36 hours. The test was about to begin. The attack came at dawn across 12 human worlds. Admiral Cho Min stood in the command center on Luna Base, watching the reports flood in. New Sol Colony was under siege. Titan Station was surrounded. Mars orbital shipyards were taking heavy fire. The enemy had struck everywhere at once. How many ships? She asked Agent Song Ji, the head of military intelligence. 3,000 Weltall warships, 2,000 Saurian cruisers. The Quantum Collective sent 500 energy beings in ship form. They're hitting us with everything they have. Admiral Cho was calm, but inside she was furious. These aliens had attacked human civilians, children, families. They had crossed a line that should never be crossed. What about our defenses? She asked. Holding better than expected, Agent Song replied. The colonists are fighting back hard. Really hard. The aliens seem surprised. On the main screen, President Yoon Soo was addressing the nation. Her voice was steady and strong. Citizens of the Terran Federation, we are under attack. But we are not afraid. We are humans. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We protect our own. Admiral Cho opened a channel to all human military units. This is Admiral Cho. All ships, all stations, all ground forces. The enemy thinks we are weak because we are young. They think 200 years in space makes us children. Let's show them what human children can do when someone threatens their family. Captain Han Bin arrived, just as the first battle reports came in. He looked exhausted from his emergency flight from the Void Sector, but his eyes were bright with anger. Admiral, I need to brief you on what we found, he said urgently. Later, Captain. Right now we have a war to fight. No, ma'am. This can't wait. The aliens don't know what they've done. They don't understand what they're awakening. Han Bin quickly told her about the ancient warnings, about the progenitor ship and its messages about human potential. Admiral Cho listened with growing amazement. Future selves? She asked. Time travel? Maybe. Or maybe something else. But the warnings are clear. Never provoke humans to full war. The last species that tried was completely destroyed. Agent Song Ji was monitoring communications from the battle zones. Admiral, you need to hear this. It's from the Weltall commander attacking New Sol. The alien voice was harsh and clicking, translated by computer. All units be advised. Human resistance is unexpected. They are not fighting with honor. They hide in tunnels. They strike from shadows. They use tactics we do not understand. Another voice joined the channel. My lord, we outnumber them 4-1. but we have lost more warriors than they have. How is this possible? Admiral Cho smiled grimly. Because they don't understand humans. They fight wars like games with rules and honor. We fight wars to win. The reports from New Seoul got stranger as the day went on. The 50,000 human colonists were not just holding off the Velthak invasion force. They were hunting them, using the colony's underground systems like a weapon. Every tunnel, every maintenance shaft, every hidden passage had become a trap. Dr. Park Hana had been studying captured alien technology. She burst into the command center with alarming news. Admiral, I've found something terrible. The aliens have been controlling our technology development. They've been keeping us weak on purpose. She brought up technical displays. Our ships could be twice as fast with better engines. Our weapons could be 10 times more powerful with advanced materials. But every time we try to buy these things, the aliens say they're too dangerous for young species. They've been sabotaging us? Admiral Cho asked. Worse. They've been keeping us primitive so we couldn't threaten them, but it backfired. Because we learned to do more with less. We became efficient, creative, dangerous. Agent Songji stepped forward. Admiral, I think it's time to show them our real capabilities. We've been preparing for this day for decades. What do you mean? Hanbin asked. Songji smiled coldly. We knew this might happen, so we prepared. Secret shipyards, hidden weapons, technology we developed ourselves without alien help. We may be young, but we're not stupid. The main screen switched to show Earth's moon. What Hanbin saw made his jaw drop. The entire dark side of the moon was covered in shipyards. Massive ones. And they were launching ships. Hundreds of them. Ships like nothing he had ever seen. How long have you been building these? He whispered. 50 years, Admiral Cho replied. Ever since we realized the aliens weren't really our friends. They were our wardens keeping us contained. The new human ships were sleek and deadly. They moved faster than anything in the galaxy. Their weapons were completely unknown. Most importantly, they were crewed by humans who had grown up knowing they might have to fight for their species' survival. The first major battle happened near Titan Station. A Saurian fleet of 300 ships attacked what they thought was a defenseless mining platform. Instead, they found themselves facing Captain Shin Woo and his fighter squadron. The Saurians had never seen anything like human fighter tactics. Their big ships moved slowly and predictably. The human fighters were tiny, fast, and completely unpredictable. They swarmed like angry insects, striking from every direction at once. In 30 minutes, the entire Saurian fleet was destroyed. Not one human fighter was lost. The Quantum Collective made their move against Mars. They were energy beings, virtually indestructible by normal weapons. They planned to simply absorb the human defenders and consume their life force. They had never encountered Dr. Nam Ki's modified EMP weapons. The electromagnetic pulses disrupted their energy forms, causing them incredible pain. For the first time in their existence, the Quantum Collective learned what it meant to be afraid. President Yoon Soo called for an emergency broadcast to the entire galaxy. Every world, every station, every ship would receive her message. She stood before the cameras, calm and confident. Behind her were displays showing the battles raging across human space. The displays showed something remarkable. Humanity was winning. People of the galaxy, she began. For 200 years we have lived among you in peace. We asked for friendship. We offered trade. We sought cooperation. We harmed no one. The displays showed Velthak warriors fleeing through the tunnels of New Seoul, chased by determined human colonists. You decided we were too young, too primitive, too dangerous to be treated as equals. You limited our growth. You controlled our development. You kept us weak because you feared what we might become. The displays showed Saurian ships exploding under the guns of human fighters. Today, you chose war. You attacked our homes. You threatened our children. You tried to destroy our future. The displays showed Quantum Collective energy beings screaming in pain as human weapons tore them apart. You have made a mistake. You thought our peaceful nature meant we were weak. You thought our youth meant we were helpless. You thought our small numbers meant we were unimportant. President Yoon Soo stepped closer to the camera. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were filled with fire. We are humans. We do not start wars. But when someone threatens our family, we finish them. You wanted to see what we are capable of. You wanted to test our limits. Very well. The camera pulled back to show windows behind her. Through those windows, space was filled with ships. Thousands of them. Human ships of designs no alien had ever seen, ships that had been building in secret for decades. Let us show you what happens to those who break the galaxy's oldest rule. Do not mess with humans. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders stared at their screens in growing horror. They had expected to fight a young, weak species with limited technology. Instead, they had awakened something that had been waiting patiently for this moment, something that had been preparing, something that remembered every slight, every limitation, every condescending word. They had awakened humanity's true potential, and humanity was very, very angry. 6 months into the war, everything had changed. Admiral Han Bin stood on the bridge of his new flagship, watching the liberation of Research Station Beta. The Saurians had captured the station early in the war, taking human scientists as prisoners. Today, humanity was taking it back. All units, this is Admiral Han. Remember, we have people inside that station. I want precision strikes only. Our people come home alive. The human fleet moved like a deadly dance. Ships that 6 months ago had been exploring peaceful worlds were now perfectly coordinated war machines. The Saurians defending the station had never seen tactics like these. General Park Sol led the boarding teams. Her Marines moved through the station corridors with cold efficiency. They had been trained for this moment their entire lives. Every human soldier knew that somewhere in the galaxy, their own family might be prisoners too. Dr. Nam Ki's location confirmed, came the report. Section 7, Level 3, heavy guard presence. Understood. Moving to intercept. Dr. Nam Ki had been captured 3 months ago when his research ship was overwhelmed by a Velthak fleet. Since then, the aliens had been torturing him for information about human technology. They wanted to know how humans adapted so quickly, how they learned so fast. General Park found him in a cell that was more like a laboratory. The brilliant scientist was weak but alive. His eyes lit up when he saw human soldiers. General Park, he whispered, I was hoping you would come. We never leave our people behind, Doctor. Can you walk? Yes, but first there's something you need to know. They've been trying to understand us. They think our adaptability is biological. They don't realize the truth. What truth? Dr. Namki smiled weakly. That our real weapon isn't our bodies or our technology. It's our minds, our ability to think differently, to solve problems in ways they never considered. As they evacuated the station, Dr. Nam Ki explained what he had learned during his captivity. The aliens had 3 major weaknesses that they didn't even know about. The Velthak were obsessed with honor and tradition. They couldn't adapt when humans broke their rules of warfare. The Saurians relied too heavily on their technology. When that technology was turned against them, they panicked. The Quantum Collective thought their energy forms made them superior, but those same forms could be disrupted by the right frequencies. I've been working on something, Dr. Nam Ki told Admiral Han Bin once they were safely aboard the flagship. Weapons that turn their strengths into weaknesses. 3 weeks later, those weapons changed everything. The Battle of Kepler Station was supposed to be a major Velthak victory. They had assembled their greatest warriors, their most honored champions. 5,000 elite soldiers against a human colony of 800 people. The Velthak charged into battle expecting glorious combat. Instead, they found themselves paralyzed by fear. Dr. Nam Ki's new weapon sent signals directly into their nervous systems, triggering every instinct that told them to flee. The proud warriors became helpless as frightened animals. The Saurian attack on New Mars was meant to demonstrate their technological superiority. Their ships could reshape matter at the molecular level. Their weapons could destroy entire cities in seconds. Dr. Nam Ki's counter-technology turned their own ships against them. Saurian vessels began attacking each other. Their computer systems convinced that their allies were enemies. The greatest technological civilization in the galaxy was destroyed by its own creations. The Quantum Collective's assault on Luna Base should have been unstoppable. Energy beings couldn't be killed by normal weapons. They could pass through any barrier, absorb any attack. Dr. Nam Ki's frequency generators made their energy forms unstable. For the first time in their existence, the Quantum Collective felt pain. Real terrible pain. They fled back to their home dimension, screaming in frequencies that shattered windows across 3 star systems. But the real surprise came when General Park Sol launched Operation Homecoming. Humans didn't just fight to reclaim their lost worlds. They began freeing other species that had been enslaved by the 3 powers. The Rylan traders who had been forced to give most of their profits to the Velthak. The silicon-based Kreks whose mineral-rich worlds had been strip-mined by the Saurians. The telepathic Ilor, who had been used as living computers by the Quantum Collective. Captain Xin Wu found himself leading fighter squadrons that included pilots from a dozen different species. Former slaves who had learned to fly human ships and fight alongside their liberators. "This is incredible," he reported to Admiral Han Bin. "We're not just winning battles, we're winning allies. Every world we free joins our cause." The three major powers tried to form a larger coalition. They reached out to neutral species, offering wealth and territory in exchange for help against humanity. They were shocked to discover that most neutrals were now supporting the humans. After watching how humans treated prisoners and refugees with kindness while fighting with unmatched courage, the smaller species had chosen their side. Dr. Park Hana made another crucial discovery while studying progenitor ruins on a liberated world. Hidden deep in the ancient structures were star maps, showing the secret locations of the three powers' homeworlds. Worlds they had kept hidden for millions of years. "Admiral," she called Han Bin urgently, "you need to see this." The progenitors left us detailed maps of enemy territory, not just their current positions but their real homeworlds, the places they've been hiding. "How could ancient aliens know about current locations?" Han Bin asked. "I don't think they're ancient," Dr. Park replied quietly. "I think the progenitors are us, humans from the future who came back to leave us the tools we'd need for this war." The evidence was overwhelming. The progenitor technology was clearly based on human science, just far more advanced. The star maps were drawn using human mathematical concepts. Even the warnings about never provoking humans made sense if they had been written by humans themselves. But why? Han Bin wondered. Why go back in time to help us? Maybe because they remembered this war, Dr. Park suggested. Maybe because they knew how important it was for humanity to win. The star maps revealed something else amazing. Hidden throughout the galaxy were weapon caches left by the progenitors. Weapons of incredible power waiting for humans to find them. Weapons that could reshape reality itself. Tech specialist Lim Du led the team to recover the first cache. What they found inside changed everything they thought they knew about warfare. "Admiral, these aren't just weapons," Lim Du reported. "They're tools that can manipulate matter and energy at the fundamental level. We could use these to end the war in days." "What's the catch?" Admiral Han Bin asked. He had learned to be suspicious of anything that seemed too good to be true. They only work for humans. The progenitors designed them to respond to human DNA, human brain patterns, human emotional states. Anyone else who tries to use them will be destroyed. As human forces closed in on the three powers' secret homeworlds, the enemy made one desperate attempt to change the outcome of the war. The Quantum Collective tried to travel back in time to prevent humanity from ever reaching the stars. They gathered their greatest minds and most powerful energy beings for the attempt. They discovered something that terrified them more than any human weapon. Time itself seemed to protect humans. Any attempt to change human history created paradoxes that threatened to tear apart reality. Something about human consciousness made temporal manipulation impossible around them. The failed time travel attempt had an unexpected consequence. It sent a message across all of space and time, reaching every advanced civilization in the universe. The message was simple but clear. Humanity was protected by forces beyond normal understanding, species from other galaxies, beings of incredible power, ancient civilizations that had existed for billions of years. All received the same message. Earth's children were not to be harmed. The consequences of trying would be beyond imagination. Admiral Han Bin received reports that neutral alien fleets were withdrawing from the war entirely. Even species that had never heard of humans were pulling back from any conflict that might involve them. "Sir," Captain Xin Wu reported from his fighter wing, "the enemy is retreating on all fronts. Not just tactical retreats, full evacuation. They're abandoning their forward positions and running for their homeworlds." General Park Sol confirmed it from her ground forces. "All occupied human worlds are being abandoned. The aliens are fleeing so fast they're leaving equipment behind." The tide hadn't just turned. It had become a tsunami that was washing away everything the three powers had built over millions of years of dominance. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were reshaping the galaxy itself. 2 years after the war began, Ambassador Jiang Wan stood in the ruins of the Velthak throne world. Around her, the once mighty capital city lay in rubble, not from human bombing, but from the panic of its own people trying to escape. The Velthak Emperor, who had once commanded fleets across 1,000 worlds, now hid in an underground bunker. His proud warrior race had been reduced to frightened refugees on their own planet. "Your Majesty," Ambassador Jiang Wan said calmly as she entered the bunker under a flag of truce, "I come with terms for your surrender." The Emperor was a broken being. His armor was tarnished, his weapons cast aside. Around him, his surviving nobles cowered in the darkness. "Terms?" He laughed bitterly. "What terms can there be? You have destroyed everything we built over 10 million years. Our fleets are scattered. Our warriors refuse to fight. Our colonies have all joined your rebellion. That's exactly why we're offering terms," the ambassador replied. "Because we're not here to destroy you. We're here to free you." The Emperor stared at her in confusion. "Free us? You are our conquerors." "No, Your Majesty. We are your liberators. You have been slaves to your own system for so long that you forgot what freedom looks like." Ambassador Jiang Wan activated a holographic display. It showed the Velthak home system, but not as it was now, as it could be. "Complete disarmament," she began reading the terms. "All weapons of conquest to be destroyed. All enslaved species to be freed and compensated. Your military restructured as a defensive force only." The Emperor listened with growing amazement. "That is all? You do not demand our wealth, our territory, our lives?" "We demand justice, Your Majesty. Justice for those you oppressed. Justice for those you enslaved, but not revenge. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want the galaxy to be free." Similar scenes were playing out across the former territories of the three powers. The Saurian Republic, built on technological superiority, found their homeworld surrounded by human fleets. But instead of attacking, the humans were broadcasting technical specifications for clean energy, medical advances, and food production methods. The Quantum Collective's home dimension was sealed off by barriers they couldn't understand. But through those barriers came messages offering trade, cooperation, and assistance in developing stable physical forms for those energy beings who wanted them. Fleet Admiral Kang High demonstrated the new reality when the last major enemy fleet gathered for one final battle at the galactic core. 1 million alien ships faced 100,000 human vessels. The aliens thought they finally had the numbers to win. Admiral Kang Hai activated one of the progenitor weapons. The enemy fleet didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply stopped existing. One moment there were 1 million ships preparing to fight. The next moment there was empty space. The demonstration was broadcast across the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity now possessed the power to unmake matter itself. They could erase armies, planets, entire solar systems with a thought. But instead of using this power to conquer, they used it to heal. Tech specialist Lim Du worked with teams of human scientists to understand the progenitor technology. What they discovered was beyond amazing. The weapons weren't really weapons at all. They were tools for reshaping reality according to the user's will. "We can fix anything," Lim Do reported to the human leadership. "Damaged worlds, extinct species, broken ecosystems. We can literally undo the harm that was done over millions of years." The first test was on Rylan Prime, the homeworld of the traitor species that had been devastated by Velthak strip mining. In one day, human teams restored the planet's atmosphere, regrew its forests, and brought back species that had been extinct for centuries. The galaxy watched, in awe as dead worlds bloomed with life again. But the real revelation came when Dr. Park Hanna finally decoded the complete progenitor archives. The truth about humanity's role in the galaxy was more incredible than anyone had imagined. "We are the galaxy's reset button," she announced to the assembled human leadership. "Every 50,000 years, when civilizations become too corrupt, too stagnant, too cruel, humanity emerges to break the cycle and start fresh." "You mean this has happened before?" President Yunsu asked. "Many times. We evolve, we spread across the galaxy, we grow into the progenitors, and then we go back in time to plant the seeds for the next cycle. We are our own ancestors and descendants." Admiral Hanbin shook his head in wonder. "So the warnings we found were literally written by ourselves?" "By humans who had lived through this exact scenario," Dr. Park confirmed. "They knew that the three powers would eventually try to suppress us. They knew we would need weapons and allies and knowledge to survive. So they provided everything we needed. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just another species that had gotten lucky. They were part of a cosmic cycle that ensured the galaxy would never fall into permanent darkness. But the cycle was different this time. Previous iterations had apparently required the complete destruction of the old order. This time, humanity had chosen a different path. Instead of destroying their enemies, they transformed them. The Velthak discovered that without the pressure of constant warfare, they could become amazing builders and engineers. Their warrior culture adapted to creating rather than destroying. The Saurians found that their technology could heal instead of harm. They became the galaxy's doctors and teachers, sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. The Quantum Collective learned to take physical form and experience the universe as solid beings did. They became philosophers and artists, creating beauty instead of seeking dominance. Chancellor Omin was elected as the first leader of the United Galactic Federation. Her inaugural address was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, today marks the end of the Age of Empires and the beginning of the Age of Cooperation. No longer will the strong prey upon the weak. No longer will advanced species keep others in ignorance. No longer will fear and hatred divide us. The new Federation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Every species, no matter how small or primitive, had an equal voice. Decisions were made by consensus, not force. Resources were shared based on need, not power. But challenges remained. Long-range sensors detected signals from other galaxies. Some were peaceful, but others were clearly hostile. The universe was vast, and humanity's transformation of the Milky Way had been noticed. Captain Yu Ri, one of the new generation of human officers, commanded the first intergalactic exploration mission. Her crew included members of dozens of species, all working together as equals. Unknown vessels approaching from Andromeda, her sensors officer reported. Configuration suggests military purpose. Open a channel, Captain Yu reordered. Let's see what they want. The alien face that appeared on screen was unlike anything they had ever seen. Ancient beyond measure, with eyes that held the wisdom and weariness of eons. Greetings, children of Earth, the being said in perfect human language. We have been watching your transformation of this galaxy with great interest. We are the Watchers of Andromeda, guardians of cosmic balance. Are you here as friends or enemies? Captain Yuri asked directly. The ancient being smiled. That depends entirely on what you do next. You have proven that your species can bring peace to a galaxy. But can you resist the temptation to impose that peace on others who do not want it? It was a test. Just as the progenitors had tested the three powers and found them wanting, now humanity itself was being tested by beings even older and more powerful. We don't impose peace, Captain Yuri replied. We offer it. Those who want war can have war. But they'll have it with us, and they'll discover why the galaxy's oldest rule exists. The Watcher's smile grew broader. Excellent answer, young human. The universe has been waiting a very long time for a species mature enough to wield ultimate power with wisdom. As the first contact protocols began, Admiral Han Bin reflected on how far humanity had come. 2 years ago, they had been a minor species struggling for respect. Now they were the guardians of galactic peace, preparing to take their place among the cosmic powers of the universe. But they had never forgotten the lesson of the ancient warnings. Power without wisdom was destruction. Strength without compassion was tyranny. Victory without mercy was defeat. They had broken the galaxy's oldest rule by being messed with. But they had created a new rule in its place. Never use power to harm those weaker than yourself. Always use strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The galaxy had learned to fear humans when they were angry. Now it was learning to love them when they were kind. 5 years after the end of the war, Chancellor Omin stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 500 species filled the Great Assembly Hall on New Earth Station. For the first time ever, every voice in the galaxy would be heard as equals. Friends, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. 5 years ago, our galaxy was ruled by fear. The strong dominated the weak. The old oppressed the young. The advanced kept knowledge from those who needed it most. In the audience sat beings that would have been impossible to imagine together before the war. Former Velthak warriors worked alongside Ryland traders they had once enslaved. Saurian scientists shared discoveries with primitive species they had once ignored. Quantum collective energy beings had taken physical forms to participate directly in the democratic process. Today, We celebrate not the victory of one species over others, but the victory of cooperation over domination, the victory of justice over oppression, the victory of hope over fear. Captain Yuri watched the ceremony from her ship's bridge as it orbited the station. Her crew was preparing for humanity's most ambitious mission yet. Beyond the galactic rim, sensors had detected other galaxies, other civilizations, other challenges. Some were peaceful, others were not. "Captain," her communications officer called. "We're receiving signals from the Triangulum galaxy. It's a distress call. Put it through." The message was weak and broken, but the meaning was clear. An entire civilization was crying out for help against an invasion force that consumed worlds, absorbed populations, and left nothing but emptiness behind. "How long to reach Triangulum at maximum speed?" Captain Yuri asked. 18 months with our current technology," her navigator replied. "And with progenitor technology?" 3 weeks. Captain Yuri made her decision. "Set course for Triangulum Galaxy. It's time to see if our new principles work beyond the Milky Way." The rescue mission became the largest joint operation in galactic history. Humans provided the advanced technology and leadership, but every major species contributed ships, personnel, and resources. The former enemies were now united in a common cause. Dr. Park Hanna, now director of the Galactic Archaeological Institute, had spent years studying the full progenitor archives. What she had discovered changed everything they thought they knew about the universe. "The cycle isn't just local to our galaxy," she explained to the mission briefing. "It's universal. Everywhere in the cosmos, civilizations rise and fall. Most eventually become corrupt and stagnant. But in every galaxy at the right time, a species emerges that can break the cycle." "You mean there are other humans?" Admiral Hanbin asked. "Not humans exactly, but species that serve the same function. Reset buttons for their local regions of space. We're part of a cosmic immune system that prevents the universe from dying of stagnation." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't unique in the universe, but they were incredibly rare. Out of trillions of species across billions of galaxies, only a handful had the right combination of traits to serve as cosmic guardians. When the combined galactic fleet reached Triangulum, they found a war unlike anything they had ever seen. The enemy was called the Devourers, and they were exactly what their name suggested. They consumed everything: matter, energy, even the quantum foundations of space itself. Entire star systems had been reduced to empty voids. Billions of beings had been absorbed into the Devourer collective consciousness. The local civilizations were losing badly, reduced to hiding in the spaces between galaxies. Fleet Admiral Kang Hai studied the enemy forces with growing concern. "These aren't just conquerors. They're a force of universal entropy. If they spread beyond this galaxy, they could eventually consume everything." The first battle was a disaster. Traditional weapons had no effect on beings that could absorb any form of energy. The Devourers simply consumed the attacks and grew stronger. It was tech specialist Lim Du who found the solution. "They can absorb energy, but they can't absorb nothingness. The progenitor weapons don't destroy matter, they make it cease to exist. We can literally delete them from reality." The second battle changed everything. When the progenitor weapons activated, the Devourers simply vanished. Not destroyed, not defeated, but completely removed from existence as if they had never been. But the real victory came when the local species saw how the Galactic Federation fought. They didn't conquer the liberated worlds. They didn't demand tribute or submission. They helped rebuild what had been destroyed, and then offered membership in an expanded federation. Within a year, Triangulum had become the second galaxy to join the growing alliance of free species. Ambassador Zhang Wan found herself negotiating with beings so ancient that they remembered the birth of stars. The Eternal Council of Andromeda had been watching the expansion of human influence with careful attention. "Your species has achieved something we thought impossible," their spokesperson admitted. "You have learned to wield ultimate power without being corrupted by it." "We had good teachers," Ambassador Zhang Wan replied, thinking of the ancient warnings and the wisdom of the progenitors. "We learned from the mistakes of those who came before us." "Indeed, which is why we offer you membership in the Universal Council. There are threats in this cosmos that require the cooperation of all guardian species." The Universal Council was composed of species from dozens of galaxies, all of whom served the same function as humanity in their local regions. Together, they formed a network of protection that spanned the observable universe. Captain Xin Wu, now an admiral himself, led exploration missions to distant galaxies where new crises always seemed to be emerging. His fleets included beings from hundreds of species, all united by the principles that humanity had helped establish. Admiral, his science officer reported during one such mission, "We've detected signs of a Type 3 civilization in the Magellanic Clouds. They're attempting to harness the energy of an entire galactic cluster." "Hostile intent?" Admiral Xin Wu asked. "Unknown, but the energy signature suggests they're building something that could destabilize local spacetime." These were the challenges of the New Age. As the Federation grew larger and more powerful, they encountered beings and forces that operated on scales barely comprehensible to individual minds. The responsibility was enormous, but humanity had learned something important during their transformation of the Milky Way. True strength came not from power alone, but from the wisdom to know when and how to use that power. Dr. Nam Ki, now in his hundreds but kept young by advanced medical technology, had become the Federation's chief philosopher. His job was to help guide the moral and ethical development of a civilization that spanned multiple galaxies. "The greatest danger we face," he warned the Universal Council, "is not external enemies or cosmic disasters. It's the risk of becoming what we once fought against, the risk of deciding that our way is the only way and forcing it on others. How do we prevent that?" Chancellor Omin asked. "By never forgetting where we came from, by remembering what it felt like to be the underdogs, by always asking ourselves, are we helping others become free or are we making them dependent on us?" It was a question that the Federation faced constantly as they encountered new species and new challenges. Some civilizations wanted to join the Federation immediately. Others preferred independence but cooperation. A few chose isolation entirely. The Federation respected all of these choices even when it was difficult. Even when they knew they could provide help that was desperately needed. Even when they had the power to force better solutions. General Park Sol, now retired but still serving as an advisor, often told new recruits about the early days of the war. About what it felt like to be dismissed and underestimated by more powerful species. "Never forget that feeling," she would say, "because the moment you forget, you become the oppressor. The moment you think you know better than someone else what's good for them, you become the enemy of freedom." The new generation of humans grew up in a universe where their species was respected and powerful. Captain Yuri made sure her young officers understood the responsibility that came with that power. "We are the guardians," she told them, "not the rulers, not the judges, not the kings. We guard freedom, justice, and the right of every being to choose their own path. That's all, but that's everything." 1,000 years later, the story was still being told across the universe. How a young species had refused to be suppressed. How they had turned from victims to victors to guardians. How they had resisted the corruption of absolute power and instead used it to liberate the galaxy. The ancient warnings were still there, preserved in the archives of every civilized world. But now they served a different purpose. They weren't warnings about what humans might do if provoked. They were reminders of what any species could become if they had the courage to stand up for what was right. "Do not mess with humans" had become more than a warning. It had become a promise. A promise that somewhere in the universe, there would always be someone willing to stand up for the weak, to fight for the oppressed, to guard the light against the darkness. And in the vast cosmos, where civilizations rose and fell like waves on an endless shore, that promise was worth more than all the weapons and fleets in existence.